Three women in Hawaii investing in real estate. Join us on our journey from humble beginnings to six-figure payoffs and everything in between. If we can do it, so can you. Real estate investing with Tara Shim, April Nelson, and Raquel Amin.
All right, so we're back with our real estate investing mini-series, and in one of the past videos, I think it was the one where we were talking about what we tell our kids and how we involve them. Tara mentioned it was a stressful time in the build, and so it's not all big paychecks and glory with these real estate investments. There are a lot of challenges that come up and a lot of stress that can come along in certain periods of the build or the investment. And so Tara, how about you start and tell us a little bit about a couple of the stressful moments that you made it through and how you got past that.
I think for me, the most recent was towards the end of our new build. It was super stressful as I was waiting and just sitting there waiting for things that were beyond my control. Things like we have to do like notice of completions. We have to wait for 45 days. We have to wait for hookups with utility companies. We have to wait for all these things that I don't have control over. And so that can be very stressful, especially when we're dealing with investors, investor monies, trying to get your project done in a certain time frame. Timelines are so important for us. And I think looking back at it, the stress that I had was self-inflicted because I did not manage the expectations ahead of time. So I knew in my mind, I have this deadline, I got to do all of this beforehand. But had I told the contractors and the subs and everybody, hey, this is when I need you to be done with this so that this can happen. And sometimes there are things that are totally beyond our control that we don't know. And I think that's one of the biggest stresses in my new build was that it was things that I couldn't control. I wanted to control them. I had to just let it be, let it take its course. And when you are dealing with other people's monies and time frames and everything, it can be very, very stressful. Especially this came at the end of the year during Christmas time, just everything and a new build, and we can't move forward until this happens. And so I think that's the stressful part of it. It's very, very rewarding at the end, but that can be a huge stress if you don't manage expectations up front.
Manage expectations, and it sounds like then having to, or being able to pivot and be flexible when certain things don't happen that are outside of your control, right?
100%.
And then how about you, Raquel?
Yeah, so for me, same thing like Tara said, it's about managing expectations. One of the big parts, the stressful parts is the lending part and, making sure that the money, comes in at a certain time. Like how Tara was saying is that you can't, we can only go so far with so many funds until we can pull a draw from the lender, and then we can continue on the process. So just making sure that you have a really good lender that is there in full communication and managing his expectation as well, like, okay, what does he need in order for us to pull out another draw. I was in a situation where we're in the smack middle of renovation, and my lender, he was MIA, and so we were fronting money, big sums of money, like over $50,000. And I'm just waiting, like trying to get in contact with him to be like, hey, can we pull a draw? And then finally he was able to release at least a little bit of money, because we do have, one of the great things about doing these renovations is that it's not only about providing money for us and our family, but we're providing jobs for the local community as well. So we want to make sure that we pay, the contractors and everybody, all the tradesmen, pay them on time because they have families to feed and they have employees to feed as well. So I think that's one of the big things, is just making sure that you have maybe even a backup plan, or just, like Tara said, planning ahead to make sure that you do have funds readily available so you can carry on and complete your project on time. Because time is money, for sure.
Time is definitely money. I would say that's some of my stress as well. I think when I set unrealistic expectations and excuse me, maybe I need a drink of water. When I set the unrealistic expectations, I think I did that one time as well, that ended up leading to a lot of stress on my condo foreclosure project. I bought a foreclosure condo that needed some work, and my plan was to work over the holidays, over Thanksgiving, Christmas, get it all fixed up and rent it out by January. And that plan was not realistic, and I ended up, luckily I had a little time before I needed rental income to start coming in, and I had a little bit of cushion there. But then when I adjusted my expectations, I started finding some things that I wasn't expecting, and just on island supply of things, even getting appliances or other things here on an island in Hawaii is often difficult. You know, Lowe's doesn't have everything in stock, or you may try to find a part to repair something and it's just, you have to order it and you have to wait. And so,
especially during COVID.
Yes, yes,
that was thrilling.
And that's a big stress too, is that we are projecting like what this build is going to cost or the renovations are going to cost maybe 6 months ahead of starting, and then you get into the build and then you're waiting, you get your permits and everything, and you're starting maybe 6 months, 9 months later, and everything went up, right? Like all the prices go up, and so you're thinking your budget is this, and then when you actually go and do it with labor costs and inflation and cost of materials, it's 10 times more, and then you're like, dang, that's another stress of like, I thought it was going to be this, and so knowing how and when to pivot, that can be a huge stress for a lot of people. And luckily, like, we understand that. So of course we have our reserves, and we put in money for unexpected things that come up. But that can be so much stress, because even for me at this new build, I was like, man, I didn't realize how much the inflation had rose all the prices. You know, everything went up so much. And I should have redid my numbers one more time closer to the build, but I was like, we're good, we have some cushion. And really it was like super stressful in the build, because everything that I thought was going to be, you know, $5,000 or $10,000, it was a little bit more. And as you go, and that little bit more adds up to so
really
much,
fast,
it can be super stressful. And that's why having like that solid financial foundation is so key, right? Because I can see how, like Raquel was saying, people can get taken out of the game by not putting in something that, you know, all the little things, even at the end, all the finish work, you know, the little like light fixtures and switches and you know, all those little things, they add up so much that it can be super stressful,
especially after inflation, like you mentioned.
100%.
I mean, for me on that condo project, just paint, I mean, buying paint, like thousands of dollars of paint to paint the whole thing. And I, you know, luckily I had some paint as well from a previous project, and so some of those things, but it got expensive. And the other thing that's challenging here is the contractors. I had a small, what I thought was a very small electrical issue, which I knew before going in, that the kitchen light didn't work. And so I had just getting an electrician to come in for a small job here on the island is very challenging. You have to pretty much beg or know somebody, or please come and
pay big dollars.
Yeah, or pay big dollars, because they are busy and they have way more work than, you know, than they need. So I finally got an electrician to come in, and he wasn't able to fix the light, but he found other problems. And so I ended up with a whole new breaker box and all kinds of other things fixed. But that's still, the kitchen light didn't work, and it's the only light in the kitchen. And so, you know, you need a kitchen light. You can't go cook in the dark. And so then I called a bunch of other electricians and friends of friends and all these people, and I don't have time for that job. I know that complex. I don't want to work in there because it's cinder block and hard to get to the wiring, and, you know, all kinds of things. So I finally got somebody to come, and he was there for 7 hours, and still, you know, and many dollars later and everything. So it can be really challenging, and that was a stressful moment for me. And we finally got the kitchen light working, and it was like a moment after a lot more money than I expected, and a lot more stress. Yeah, for one thing that you think is going to be small in the bill, but it was, you know, a major, you know, I had almost everything ready for the tenants except this one issue that's still happening. And, you know, then the last minute before the tenants were supposed to move in, I'm going through and just checking everything, making sure it's all clean and all ready to go. And I just happened to look under the sink, and the brand new sink is leaking underneath in the bathroom. And I was like, they're moving in tomorrow. What do I do? So, you know, then you run to Lowe's and you hurry and you try, and luckily they had one left of that exact sink. So then I, you know, got the only one in stock and rushed back, and, you know, late at night with the hammer and everything, trying to, you know, fix with all the tools. And luckily I was able to get it fixed before the tenants moved in. But those are the kind of surprises or things
that can be super stressful, right?
Yeah.
And like even for what Raquel does with the fix and flips, that's why I like new construction, because the surprises that you get can be super stressful when you're like opening up a wall, or oh my gosh, look at this, or we didn't know this was leaking. And so I mean, in any construction that you do, there is no perfect home. There will always be problems, right?
Surprises,
that's just the heartburn of real estate, but that's what we love. I mean, this comes with it. The stress comes with the territory, right?
So, and the reward and the feeling of accomplishment 100%. At the end, when you finally solve that. Like when I turned on that kitchen light, that was just that made my year right there. Look, my son, I told him, come here, quick, turn this light on. Look, it got it. Yes. So I mean, there's definitely, it's rewarding, it's stressful, there are challenges along the way, and I think making sure that you have enough cushion in your budget, stay flexible, don't get too hung up on the small stuff. It definitely makes you strong and learning experiences in this industry.
100%. And really at the end of the day, everything is figure outable. So even though you have these stressful moments, you got somebody to fix your light, you find somebody to figure it all out, you find the money to make it happen. So I think the stress just comes with it, so you have to embrace that, because if it was just great all the time, everybody would be doing it, and we wouldn't know that it was great if we didn't have these setbacks and the stress and all of the things. So
and like Tara was saying too, like at the end of your project and such, even for fix and flips, like you almost get like fatigue, where you're just like you're so close, but yet you're still so far away. And but at the end you're just so anxious to get it done, because you've done so much work, and and then when it's finally listed, then you're like, here it is, finally. So for me, I just tell people, give yourself grace, just trust the process and give yourself grace. There are so many things and variables that we can't control, but you just gotta, for me, just pray about it, and just continue on. Call one of the ladies and be like, oh my gosh, I want to rip out my hair, I want to rip out my husband's hair, type of thing. But we just you want to just create a collaboration of just like-minded people, and just network, and just help each other out. That's what we do.
100%.
Absolutely. All right, well, on to the next video.
Join us for our next video, Real Estate Investing Teams.